Michael was a billionaire young man who had tasted almost everything life could give: luxury, power, respect, and fame. But what he could not find was true love. Women smiled at him only because of his cars, his money, and his name. He gave his heart away many times, but each time it was crushed. Some used him for his wealth, others left him for richer men, and some stayed only to betray him. He reached a point where he no longer trusted any woman who said, "I love you." One night, sitting alone in his empty mansion, Michael whispered to himself, "If I stay like this, I will die rich but lonely. I must know if real love still exists." That night, he made a dangerous decision: to disappear from his billionaire life and live like an ordinary poor man, even if it meant humiliation. He shaved his hair, wore cheap clothes, and left behind his luxury. Through a small agency, he found work as a gateman in the mansion of a young lady named Amara. Amara was wealthy, but in her own way. She had worked hard to build her business after losing her parents. She lived in her mansion with her two cousins, Bissy and Tonya, who were proud, arrogant, and looked down on anyone who wasn't rich. When Michael walked in for the first time as the new gateman, Bissy and Tonya almost laughed their lungs out. "Look at this one," Bissy said. "He looks like he hasn't eaten since last week." "This is who they brought to guard us," Tonya added. "God forbid! I can't even allow him to open the gate for me. His hands are too dirty." They mocked him endlessly. Michael swallowed his pride, greeted them with a bow, and went about his duties. But Amara was different. The first thing she asked him was, "Have you eaten today?" When he shook his head shyly, she told the cook to bring him food. She noticed the way he smiled politely and never argued with her rude cousins. Michael worked hard every day, waking up early to sweep the compound, opening the gate with a smile, and even standing in the rain to do his job. He was insulted, ignored, and sometimes ordered around like a slave, but he never lost his gentle spirit. One evening, Amara was surprised to find him reading a book at the gate. "You can read?" she asked curiously. Michael smiled. "Yes, madame. Knowledge is something I cannot stop chasing, even if I am only a gateman." That answer touched her deeply. She began to respect him, and slowly she found herself spending more time near the gate just to talk to him. As the weeks went by, something strange began to grow between them. Amara, who had many rich men chasing her, found herself drawn to the poor gateman who listened to her heart more than her wealth. Michael also felt the same, but he feared his secret. "If she ever finds out who I really am, will she forgive my lies?" he asked himself silently. The cousins soon noticed the closeness. One night, Tonya cornered Michael and whispered, "Listen, I know what you're doing. You want to trap Amara with your fake humility, but I can give you something better. Come to me, I will give you money, clothes, everything you need. Forget my cousin." Michael looked at her in shock. "Madame, forgive me, but I can never do that." Insulted, she turned his rejection into revenge. The next morning, she lied to Amara, saying Michael was chasing her, begging her in secret to love him. Amara's heart sank. She confronted him angrily. "Is this true? Did you beg my cousin to love you?" Michael looked straight into her eyes and said softly, "No, madame. I may be poor, but I am not a beggar of love." His calmness and honesty made Amara doubt her cousin's words. Her trust in Michael deepened, even while her cousins mocked her. But just when things seemed to be getting better, tragedy struck. Amara's business collapsed suddenly. Investors pulled out, contracts failed, and she faced huge debts. Her cousins laughed cruelly. "So much for your kindness. Now you will learn that money is all that matters." Amara cried alone in her room, feeling abandoned. But every night, Michael stood at the gate, praying quietly for her and encouraging her whenever she came outside. "Don't give up," he told her gently. "Sometimes life breaks us to build us stronger." Amara began to lean on his strength, and unknowingly love blossomed in her heart. But she was torn inside. How can I, a rich woman, fall in love with my gateman? What will people say? The thought haunted her. Yet each time she saw him smile through his struggles, her heart melted. The cousins, however, refused to stop. They plotted to disgrace Michael. One evening, they set him up by putting jewelry in his small room and accusing him of theft. Amara was called into the scene. Bissy shouted, "See, we told you this so-called humble gateman is a thief." Michael stood shocked, staring at the jewelry he had never touched. Amara looked at him, her heart torn. The evidence was clear, but her spirit told him he was innocent. After a long silence, she said firmly, "I don't believe this. Michael is not a thief." She turned to her cousins angrily. "Enough! You have tried everything to bring him down, but you will never succeed." Michael nearly cried that night. He had never met a woman who believed in him so strongly. At the gate, he whispered, "If only you knew who I really am, Amara. If only you knew." Then came the day of revelation. Amara returned home one afternoon and found black jeeps parked outside the mansion. Men in expensive suits stood everywhere. Her cousins rushed out, confused, and then froze in shock. From one of the cars stepped Michael, but not as a gateman. He wore a sharp designer suit, a gold wristwatch glistening, his posture full of power. His assistants carried briefcases behind him. Amara's eyes widened. "Michael?" she whispered, trembling. The cousins nearly fainted. "What is going on here?" Michael walked slowly toward her, his eyes full of emotion. "My name is not just Michael the Gateman. I am Michael Williams, CEO of Williams Group. I own companies across this country. I came here not because I needed work, but because I was searching for something money could not give me, true love." The entire compound fell silent. The cousins dropped to their knees, crying, "Forgive us, we didn't know." But Michael ignored them, his gaze fixed only on Amara. Tears filled her eyes. "You mean all this time you were testing me?" she whispered. Michael nodded. "Yes, Amara. I needed to know if a woman could love me for who I am and not for what I own. And you proved it. You defended me, you stood by me when I was nothing. That is the kind of love I have searched for all my life. That is why I choose you." Amara broke down, covering her face with her hands. All the emotions, the trust, the pain, and the relief rushed over her. She fell into his arms, and for the first time in years, Michael's heart felt alive. He later saved her company, invested millions, and guided her until it rose higher than before. Her cousins, humbled and ashamed, never mocked the poor again. Months later, in the same mansion, Michael knelt by the gate where their journey began. With a ring in the hand and tears in his eyes, he said, "Here at this gate where you first showed me kindness, I ask you, Amara, will you marry me?" She was already crying before he finished the question. She nodded and whispered, "Yes, yes, I will." Their wedding shook the city, but more than the wealth, it was the story of how a billionaire gateman found a woman who loved him without knowing his riches. For Michael, it was proof that true love is not blinded by gold or luxury. It is found in the heart that sees beyond appearances. And so, the billionaire gateman finally unlocked the one treasure he could never buy, love that was pure, strong, and real.